My name's Yosa and I'm a doctor working in London, and I'm about to admit to you something that a lot of UK doctors are afraid to admit. A lot of UK doctors are broke despite the media coverage, and as a result they are living paycheck to paycheck despite usually having to work overtime, and they're becoming a lot more reliant on the idea of a pension. So in today's video I actually want to break down why UK doctors are broke and the things I'm doing differently to make sure that I don't fall into the same trap. Okay, so the first thing we need to demystify are the junior doctor salaries. I know that doctors got a little bit of a bad rep post the strikes, and they did get a salary raise. So a newly qualified junior doctor will earn £36,000 a year, and then when they go into their second year they will earn £42,000, and then if they were to go into specialty training and become a registrar they would earn between £60,000 to £70,000 a year, which, you know, is a really nice trajectory. However, that trajectory doesn't take into account the fees associated with just being able to be a doctor and to progress. You have exams which you need to sit, and those exams aren't supplemented, so you need to pay out of pocket, and if you have to resit those exams for any reason, again, that is a lot of money that you'll need to pay. Parking for staff is not free, and parking can be up to £60 or £70 a month depending on which hospital you're in. You've got the insurance as well as the additional courses you would want to do as a doctor who would want to be the best in their craft. Despite it feeling like a high salary, when you think about all of these things that you have to pay for, those things eat into how much you're taking home. And also, we can't forget that in the UK, when you earn above a certain threshold, you become a higher tax rate payer. So all of these things mean that hypothetically, yes, on paper, it looks like you're doing well, but in terms of the actual amount that you're taking home every month, it isn't that much. If you have a family, if you've got young children, once you earn above a certain threshold, you may lose your childcare benefits. Again, additional fee that people would have to think about, and again, all of this stuff can really impact the quality of your life. And then we have to be honest, when you have been in medical school for about 5 to 6 years, once you finish, it feels like a huge achievement and you want to celebrate, and most people might celebrate by getting themselves a new car or going on a luxurious holiday just to commemorate the fact that, you know, they are done with medical school, and that stuff is great. However, if you haven't invested in your own personal financial literacy, you may not understand the impact of purchasing those things, and that can have a knock-on effect. In medical school, let's be real, you're taught how to save a life, you're not taught about financial literacy, no one's teaching you about taxes or pensions or how to budget, and as a result of that, that can also be a disadvantage and can affect the kind of decisions that you make. We have to be real, when doctors are working in a hospital and they are on call and they are working 12 to 13 hour shifts in environments that are usually understaffed and under a lot of strain, you're not thinking about money or thinking about how to invest. You just want to get home and have a sandwich, relax, debrief, and prep yourself for the next day. And so the triage of all of those three things results in doctors potentially being behind compared to other people. And one thing that really helped me was shifting my mindset. I actually compared the healthcare industry in the US to the UK, and yes, there are a lot of differences between both, but when you speak to the doctors who work in the US, they sound a lot more entrepreneurial, and I realized that it doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't have to choose money or medicine. You can have both. I stopped thinking about trading my direct time for money, and I started to think about how can I make money without trading my time. And that's where real wealth is built. When you think about people who own businesses, whether or not the CEO and the founder are asleep, that business is generating money. And that's the kind of level that you need to be thinking at. And Warren Buffett said something along the lines of, if you don't create a system that makes money when you're asleep, you will need to work every single day of your life in order to survive. And that is an idea that I personally wouldn't want to subscribe to. I'd want to have the choice of deciding whether or not I would like to work. And that's how you kind of want to see yourself. You want to see yourself as a business entity. You want to see yourself as an entrepreneur. And I started asking myself questions like, what do the rich actually do with their money? How do they actually make money? And how do they stop trading their time for money? Because if you trade your time for money, you will always be limited on how much you can make, because we only have 24 hours in a day. So as a result of asking myself those questions and researching the answers to those questions led to me learning about two words: assets and liabilities, and I learned that wealthy people have these things called assets, and assets are basically things that make you money, whereas liability are things that cost you money. And there are so many different types of assets. Rental properties are an asset, businesses are assets, having stocks is an asset, having bonds are an asset, crypto, you could argue, is an asset. There's so many different types of assets. That list isn't exhaustive. And I then thought, okay, with what I have now and with the goal of being able to choose whether or not I want to work, what is the best vehicle for me to use? And I've always been interested in interior design and property, so I chose the rental property route, and I actually bought my first property at the age of 24, and I will put a link somewhere on the screen for you to watch that video. One thing that I will say, as a common question that I get asked a lot when it comes to being able to purchase a rental property at a young age, is how did you do it? The junior doctor salaries aren't as high. How did you make it work? I am very big on, if you want something, you will make it happen. And so for me, I was very strict, and I set a very strict budget, and I've also got a video on that on my channel, and I made sure that I would save at least 50% of my income every single month. And in order to do that, I'm going to be so honest with you, I had to live a very humble lifestyle, which meant no holidays, very minimal takeout, not splurging on items that I would have wanted just for a temporary amount of time. It also meant not changing my car regularly, or like doing stuff that young people tend to do. Like I just didn't do it. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was easy, though there were times where I did share a tear because it was hard, but I remembered that it was for the bigger picture, and delayed gratification when it comes to wealth building is crucial, because you won't necessarily see the impact of you putting away an additional £10 that month, but you will see the impact of it in 10 years time or in 5 years time, when your money starts to grow and you're in a better financial position. And you also have freedom of choice, which in my eyes, you can't quantify how much that costs. So on this channel, you know that we don't gatekeep. I'm gonna tell you guys the 5 things that I'm gonna be doing that you can try to if you're not trying to be on the same trajectory as everyone else. So the first thing is investing, and investing early. I hear a lot of people say, oh no, I can't invest, I don't have enough money to invest. If you have £1, you can literally open an investing account, and the earlier you start, the better, because you benefit from a concept known as compounding. And also, when you start something, you're not gonna go into it the whole way. You're gonna wanna suss it out, see how you feel, and as you get more and more comfortable, then you will be open to the idea of doing it more and putting more money into it. So if you start earlier with a little bit of money, you're able to go through that curve a lot faster than someone who waited for the perfect time. The second thing that I'm doing is I am living below my means. I know that in a world of social media where everyone goes on holiday to Dubai 10,000 times a year, that doesn't sound as sexy or as appealing, but if you're able to keep your expenses low, then the difference in that you can invest. And again, the aim of the game is delayed gratification. The aim of the game is putting money aside now so you have freedom of choice later. The third thing is continually learning about money. I have only been able to do the things that I've done because I was very intentional about money. The same way I was intentional about learning about the human body in medical school and graduating and being a good doctor, I took that same energy and I taught myself about money. I taught myself about taxes, I taught myself about ISAs, I taught myself about assets and liabilities, and all of these buzzwords that all of these finance influencers would use all the time. And in doing that, it's meant that I've made a better set of finance choices for myself. As you learn something, you uncover more and more things about that thing. But it's a continuous journey, but I'm going to put a list of podcasts, books that I read. And then the last thing is creating different income streams. It does get to a stage where you can only strip back your life so much, and then at that point it becomes quite questionable. Having a side hustle and having other additional income streams can be really beneficial. As long as the income stream is consistent or somewhat close to consistent, that is better than having nothing. An additional £300 a month in a year is £3,600. That invested could be worth £100,000 in years down the line. Trying to build other streams of income takes the pressure off having to strip back your lifestyle. It takes the pressure off your 9 to 5, and and it allows you to hit your finance goals a lot faster. And there's so many different side hustles that you can do. I've done a video on this. I will also put that in the description box so you can check that out. So in short, you can love your job and you can also love wealth. I don't think it has to be your job or your lifestyle. I honestly think you can have both, and I feel like if you do have both, you'll be a lot happier, and that could potentially reflect itself in your work and the things that you do and just the feeling of fulfillment. So let me know what you guys think about the things that I've mentioned. Are there any other finance hacks or things you should implement? And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.